Something has gone seriously wrong in the fish world. These fish are exponentially larger than anything seen before. Let's take a look at the top 15 biggest fish ever seen. Number 15. The Lake Tahoe goldfish. If you've ever had a pet fish before, chances are the least one of them was a goldfish. That's because they are by far one of the most common household pets, as they're found in homes across America and very readily available. However, because there are so many out there, there are bound to be some goldfish that are unwanted, and most tend to be flushed down the toilet. However, what many don't realize is that these discarded little guys can be an invasive species in many ecosystems and will often grow to massive sizes in certain environments. In particular, this seems to have occurred in Lake Tahoe, where the usually small species has grown to gargantuan proportions in this new habitat due to the lake providing ideal conditions for its growth. As such, it goes without saying that they can definitely go up a notch when outside their typically tiny fish bowls. Number 14. The Mekong giant catfish. As you could probably guess from its name, the Mekong giant catfish is large. After all, they achieve lengths of about 2.5 meters, weights of about 250 kilograms, and are typically found vegetating at the bottom of Thailand's Mekong River. However, the crown jewel of these catfish was caught in 2005, when an especially large specimen came in at about 2.7 meters long and weighed an impressive 293 kilograms, making it a contender for the largest freshwater fish ever recorded. It unfortunately did not survive despite attempts to pump steroids into it to boost its strength, and thus it was later eaten by the locals. And while this would typically not be a big deal due to it being considered to be critically endangered by the World Conservation Union, the catching and killing of this massive fish was certainly far from ideal. Number 13. The Albino Sturgeon. Big sturgeon are certainly a sight to behold, but finding a supersized specimen that's also albino is near impossible. However, this is exactly what happened when the British couple Michael and Margaret Snell of Salisbury, England, reeled in a 3.8-meter white sturgeon that weighed 500 kilograms and had a 53-inch girth while fishing near Chilliwack, British Columbia. Now, typically speaking, white sturgeons reach a maximum length of about 2.1 meters, making the one they found a real monster. However, despite it being a true sight to behold, it did not officially break the record due to it being released back into the water rather than killed and officially weighed. Number 12. The Hammerhead. While they may not be quite as feared as the great white, the hammerhead shark is certainly not a fish that should be underestimated. After all, this large fish typically comes in at about 6 meters in length and half a ton in weight, and it often uses its massive head to pin down stingrays in order to eat them as prey. However, what makes the hammerhead stand apart is that it's extremely difficult to catch, and thus many anglers have tried their hand at catching this elusive prize. And as a result of such efforts, in May of 2006, Captain Bucky Dennis managed to reel in the largest hammerhead ever. Caught off the coast of Boca Grande, Florida, this supersized shark came in at an astonishing 0.6 tons. And best of all, rather than simply throw it away, Captain Dennis opted to donate the specimen to the Mote Marine Laboratory in Sarasota, Florida, where it was dissected for the benefit of the scientific community. Number 11. The Ratfish. Deep water creatures have a reputation for looking a little strange, and the story of the ratfish shows that this creature is no exception. See, said ratfish was caught by Norwegian fisherman Oscar Lundell off the Norwegian island of Andøya as he was fishing for blue habit at a depth of about 800 meters below the surface. And while he wasn't expecting to see this strange fish, he said that its dinosaur-like appearance was quite the shock when he was reeling it in, and its massive eye made it stand apart from anything he had caught previously. And although it unfortunately didn't survive the trip up to the surface due to the extreme change in pressure, he said that after frying it up at home, it made for an excellent meal. Number 10. The Atlantic bluefin tuna. As far as fish go, few are as sought after as the bluefin tuna. After all, as any viewers of the hit show Wicked Tuna can attest, they're famed for their delicious meat and complex flavor. Due to them weighing as much as 250 kilograms and growing to as large as 2.5 meters, they have the potential to bring in massive amounts of cash. As such, they are fished across the northeastern seaboard of the United States and the east coast of Canada. Yet it was off the small Canadian town of Ald's Cove, Nova Scotia, that history was truly made. That's because on October 26 of 1979, an angler by the name of Ken Fraser went toe-to-toe with a massive bluefin tuna for about 45 minutes before finally bringing it in, as its weight ended up being an incredible 679 kilograms and its length about 3.7 meters, making it by far the largest bluefin tuna ever recorded across all species. However, when you consider that the U.S. National Marine Fisheries Service claims that a 910-kilogram fish theoretically could exist, perhaps we'll see this long-standing record be beaten sometime in the near future. Number 9. The Goliath Grouper. While the grouper is already a large fish species in its own right, the Goliath grouper takes this species' size one step further. That's because at typical lengths of about 2.5 meters and weights of up to 360 kilograms, they're the largest of the grouper species and are known to have a delicious taste. As a result, these fish have been in the eye of anglers all across their habitat in the western Atlantic Ocean. However, the largest one to date was caught all the way back in May of 1961. It was on the 20th of that month on Fernandina Beach, Florida. A fish that was baited using Spanish mackerel came in at about 310 kilograms, making it just a hair below the maximum limit that this species generally can reach. As a result, while the record could theoretically be broken again, this will likely not be the case for a very long time. That's because ever since 1990, the fishing of this giant fish had been banned across the United States and the Caribbean in order to replenish its low population. However, if an angler from a nation in which it's not banned manages to reel a record breaker in, it would be fair game. We're constantly adding more people to the Top 5's production team to bring you all the best content. Be sure to subscribe with notifications on and hit the like button. Number 8. The bull shark. While all sharks are pretty impressive in their own right, any shark with the word bull in its name is bound to be pretty tough. Now, this is certainly the case with the bull shark, which is a species found in waters across the world. Typically measuring in at a length of 2.4 meters and a weight of 130 kilograms, these sharks are known to be territorial, aggressive, and unpredictable in nature. As a result, it should come as no surprise that it's a thrilling fish to try and catch. But the man with the honor of catching the largest ever was Australian angler Bryce Henderson, who in February of 1994 caught a 316-kilogram bull shark specimen off the coast of Port Stephens, Australia. Making it more than double the size of a typical bull shark, it was truly an impressive feat, and it's unlikely to be matched anytime soon. Number 7. The ocean sunfish. There are many different species of bony fish out there. However, none come anywhere near the size of the ocean sunfish. That's because this species holds the distinction of being the largest bony fish in the world, as it often weighs as much as 1,000 kilograms and comes in at lengths of up to 4.2 meters. Now, as you could probably guess by their name, they are typically found in warm waters and are located across a variety of different water bodies where they feed on several species of jellyfish, squid, and crustaceans. However, while these fish may be pretty massive, the largest one of them all was caught in 1996, when said specimen came in at an astonishing 2,300 kilograms. Yet, as fishing techniques continue to improve, perhaps this specimen will be ousted by another in the near future. Number 6. The king of the salmon. Although technically not a salmon at all, the king of the salmon, which is found along the western seaboard of North and South America, is certainly large enough to look like underwater royalty. And while these fish typically live 3,000 meters below the ocean's surface, in June of 2020, one just happened to wash up to shore at Salt Creek Recreation Area, which is a protected park near Port Angeles in Washington State. Now, it certainly was a sight to behold. After all, the fish was about 1.8 meters in length and had a massive eyeball, leading its initial finder, Scott Herning, believing it was a shark of some sort. However, after some further research, a group by the name of Harbor Wild Watch concluded that the species in question was in fact a king of the salmon, which is really a type of ribbon fish. Now, this find was of great importance to the scientific community because only a handful have ever been documented before, so this one chose to appear in such perfect condition was a shock to many of those involved. As such, it's hypothesized that it likely ended up at Salt Creek after being caught by the ocean's grip in the surf and washed ashore, as this would be one of the only plausible explanations for the fish being found where it was. Yet in any case, it goes without saying that this was a fantastic find. Number 5. The great white shark. Put simply, we think that most of you would agree that great white sharks are the kings of the ocean. After all, when you consider that they're 6.1 meters long, 2,250 kilograms in weight, have a massive set of jaws, and deadly killer instincts, they're truly one of the most spectacular sea creatures out there. As a result, many a fisherman has tried their hand at catching one, but the man that can claim to have caught the largest ever was Alfred Dean of southeastern Australia. That's because while fishing outside the waters of the small town of Ceduna, Australia, in April of 1955, he snagged a massive shark on his hook, wrestling with it for about 70 minutes before finally pulling it in. Bringing the beast back to nearby Denial Bay, the shark ended up ringing in at a massive 1,208 kilograms. And while that may not be as large as some of the biggest sharks recorded in the wild, to put Dean's feat into perspective, no shark fisher since then has caught anything within 340 kilograms of this record. As a result, unless shark fishing technology massively improves, it will likely hold the record for years to come. However, the largest shark to have ever been observed was significantly larger. Nicknamed Deep Blue, he was tagged off the coast of Mexico 20 years ago. But he was recently seen by divers off the coast of Oahu in Hawaii. It was at this point that the 50-year-old shark was recorded as being 2.5 tons, meaning that he significantly outweighed all of his other great white counterparts. As such, it goes without saying that Deep Blue truly is impressive. Number 4. The Hoodwinker Sunfish. While the ocean sunfish may be a spectacular sunfish species in its own right, it comes nowhere close to the hoodwinker sunfish. Discovered only a few years back in 2017, this fish, which is also known as the molotecta, is an absolute monster. That's because at a length of about 2.5 meters and a weight of about 2 tons, it's heavier than many small cars, and as such has caught the eye of fish enthusiasts from around the world. Now, generally speaking, the hoodwinker sunfish is found in the southern hemisphere, more specifically in the waters near Australia, New Zealand, southern Chile, and southern Africa. However, despite it generally being found in this locale, in February of 2019, one came to the attention of the media when it washed up in, of all places, Southern California. Now, at first, the researchers on hand didn't think it was a hoodwinker. After all, this species is not known to live in the waters near this area, and a similar species, which is known as the mola mola, or ocean sunfish, is seen quite often in Californian waters. Yet after Thomas Turner, who was an associate professor at UC Santa Barbara, and Jessica Nielsen, who was a conservation specialist, corresponded together, they found that the clavis, which is a distinct feature on the molotecta, was in fact consistent with specimens found in the southern hemisphere. And although the reason to why this hoodwinker sunfish was so far out of its range is still unclear, what is clear is that this fish truly was an ecological unicorn of sorts for all those involved. Number 3. The Black Marlin. Swordfish are easily one of the most spectacular fish out there, but among them all, none is quite as impressive as the black marlin. Found throughout the Pacific Ocean, the black marlin has been observed at a maximum length of 4.65 meters, a weight of 750 kilograms, and speeds of as much as 36 kilometers per hour. As such, the black marlin is an absolute tank of a fish, and therefore shouldn't come as a surprise that it's one of the most highly prized game fish in the world. However, as far as records go, it's Alfred C. Glassell Jr. who holds the honor of catching the largest black marlin ever. And an American oil magnate and professional fisherman by trade, he was featured on a number of national fishing teams and was known to be an avid philanthropist to marine biology research programs. It was this passion for marine biology that fueled his desire to travel the world on fishing expeditions. And on the day of his record-breaking attempt in August of 1953, he found himself off the coast of Cabo Blanco in Peru, which is more commonly known as Marlin Boulevard due to the high quantities of marlins found in its waters. It was here that he reeled in a black marlin that weighed in at about 710 kilograms, making it the largest fish in the marlin family to ever be caught. It was as a result of both this catch and a string of others that Glassell Jr. was eventually inducted into the IGFA Fishing Hall of Fame in 2001. And to this day, both his black marlin and many of his other catches can be viewed at the Smithsonian in Washington, D.C. Number 2. The whale shark. As far as sharks go, none come anywhere close to the whale shark. That's because this incredible species stands apart for being not only the world's largest shark, but for being the largest non-cetacean animal on the planet. This is because on average, whale sharks reach lengths of about 9.8 meters and weigh in at about 9 tons, with this species managing to get to these impressive sizes thanks in part to the copious amounts of plankton they consume. However, despite their massive size, they are in fact one of the most docile fish in the sea, as they will often be very friendly with human divers. As a result, the whale shark really is the definition of a gentle giant, and thus can be often measured without having to be caught. However, it must be noted that despite this, it's very hard to accurately measure a whale shark. This is because measurements on land have often been tainted by the fact that the whale shark's body will often be stretched out to give it an unrealistically long length, while measurements in the water are often inaccurate due to the use of knotted ropes to measure length, which are, in short, often inaccurate. Regardless, some especially large individuals have been reported. The largest and most obscure recording was done in 1868, when Irish natural scientist Edward Percival Wright was told that there were specimens upwards of 21 meters in the area around the Seychelles. However, in more modern times, the largest recorded specimens were slightly smaller, with an 18-meter individual being measured in the wild in 1994 and a 20.75-meter long specimen being measured in 1995 after it got stranded on the Ratnagiri coast. Regardless, it goes without saying that no matter which specimen you think truly holds the title, whale sharks certainly are some of the most massive fish out there. Number 1. The cave fish. Now, we're going to be honest with you. This fish may seem a little disappointing at first. After all, at just 15 centimeters in length and about 900 grams in weight, this fish really doesn't seem all that impressive at first glance. Yet despite this, the truth of the matter is that the species you see on your screen, which was discovered during a 2019 expedition in the northern Indian state of Meghalaya, stands apart due to it being the largest cave fish known to man. Now, the particular spot in which this fish was found is known as the Lao Dao Cave. It stands apart due to it being largely undiscovered and completely inaccessible during the rainy season. As a result, researchers have only very recently adapted in order to explore its depths, and it was on a journey within the cave that these fish were found. Interestingly enough, it appears that these fish are, like many other cave creatures, blind and eyeless, although it apparently has some ability to sense light. However, what's still unclear is exactly how these fish grow to their size and weight in a cave environment, with one of the prevailing theories being that these fish feed on vegetation washed underground by rain. And while this relatively large fish certainly is mysterious, scientists believe that it may still be in the process of evolving apart from a closely related above-ground species known as the golden masir, or more formally as the tor putitora. This is because the only observable differences between the two animals are that the cave fish are A, much smaller than their above-ground counterparts, B, lack pigmentation as they have white and almost translucent color, and C, that their eyes are poorly developed, and in some specimens even non-existent. Regardless, if these two truly are related, it would definitely make it much easier to study this newfound fish. Watch our Animals playlist for more top 15 videos about animals. Sit back, relax, and binge watch all of our best animal-related videos.